My name is Margot Sinclair, and I've lived in the same little house in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, for the past 38 years. I raised 2 sons here, buried my husband under the oak tree in our backyard, and built a quiet, frugal life teaching middle school English. People in town knew me as the Coupon Queen, the one who drove the same car for 2 decades and packed her lunch every single day. But what most didn't know was that, beneath all the frugality and modest choices, I'd been slowly investing smartly, quietly. I wasn't hiding it. I just never talked about it. And honestly, I never thought I had to. That all changed last Christmas. My younger son Ethan and his wife Kylie were visiting from Minneapolis. It had been a tense year between us. Not outright arguments but quiet judgment, strained dinners and cold smiles. Kylie, in particular, had always made it clear that my way of life confused her. She once told me, "You act poor, Margot. You could at least dress like you have some dignity." I shrugged it off. I didn't need fancy handbags or designer boots to feel worthy. But something about this visit felt different. More charged. After dinner, while I was washing dishes, I noticed the house had gone strangely quiet. I peeked into the living room, expecting to find Ethan asleep and Kylie scrolling her phone. Instead, I caught her red-handed, hunched over my home office desk with my bank statement in her hand. I stood there, frozen, the sponge dripping in my hand. She didn't even flinch when she saw me. She just said flatly, "You've been hiding this from all of us." I didn't know what to say. I looked at the papers, then at her eyes, wide with anger and accusation. "Hiding what?" I asked, gently. "This," she hissed, slapping the statement down. "You have over $2 million in your accounts, Margot. And Ethan and I have been struggling to pay rent. And you just hoard this away." I felt the blood rush to my face. Not from guilt, but from shock. "That money isn't hidden, Kylie. It's my retirement. It's what I saved, over 40 years of teaching. I drove a beat-up Corolla and patched my jeans because I wanted security, not status." But she didn't want an explanation. She wanted entitlement. "You owe Ethan. You owe your family. You let us suffer when you could have helped. What kind of mother-in-law are you?" That hit me hard. Harder than I ever expected. I sat down and looked at her, really looked. A woman so obsessed with appearances and lifestyle, who saw generosity as obligation and saving as selfishness. It broke my heart. Not because of the accusation, but because it made me realize how far apart we really were. Not just in lifestyle but in values. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I simply said, "You don't know the sacrifices I made to have that money." It wasn't luck. It was discipline, missed vacations, second jobs in the summer, and years of saying no to things I wanted. If you think that kind of commitment is owed to you, then I fear what kind of future you're actually building. She left the room in silence, but I knew the damage had been done. Ethan tried to smooth things over the next day, apologizing for her outburst, but the look in his eyes told me he had questions too. Since then, they've called less. They haven't visited. And I've spent many nights wondering if keeping my finances private was a mistake. But in my heart, I know it wasn't. I didn't hide anything. I simply didn't brag. And if that makes me the villain in their story, so be it. I'll keep living simply, saving quietly, and loving fiercely. Because in the end, it's not the money that defines your legacy, it's the values you pass on. And maybe, just maybe, someday they'll see the difference.